My name is Janice. I'm standing in the showroom of my 8th dealership, a place filled with the gleam of luxury cars and the buzz of excited customers. My family is here for the grand opening, a far cry from the days when they barely acknowledged my business. My sister, Lily, stands beside me, her boyfriend, a mechanic named Ethan, at her side. As we watch people stroll around, Lily turns to me and says, "You know, I never thanked you for teaching me how to stand on my own 2 feet." I smile at her. "You don't need to thank me." But she insists. "Yes, I do. You saved my life by refusing to enable me anymore." I look at her and reply, "You saved your own life by choosing to change." Lily then asks, "Can I ask you something? Why didn't you tell us how successful you were? We could have been celebrating your achievements instead of worrying about your choices." I take a moment to think. Because I needed to know that you loved me for who I was, not what I had accomplished. Money changes relationships, and I wanted to make sure ours was built on something real. Now, let me rewind to how we got here. It all started when I was in my downtown office, poring over quarterly reports. My phone pinged with a text from Lily. Her message was as blunt as ever, with no hint of apology. "Hey sis, hope you're doing well in New York. I sold your old Ford to help with rent. Got $3,000 for it from Star Auto Sales on Elm Street. Don't worry, I'll pay you back when I can. Thanks for understanding. Hugs and kisses." I stared at the message, reading it over and over to make sure I wasn't seeing things. My sister had just sold my car without my permission while I was away on a business trip. What Lily didn't know was that Star Auto Sales was my dealership. I'd built an automotive empire over the past 8 years, starting from a single used car lot on the outskirts of the city and growing it into the most prominent independent dealer network in the region. The old Ford she sold was a 1995 Mustang GT that I'd been restoring as a passion project. To her, it was just an old car taking up space in my driveway. To me, it was a $15,000 collector's item with a rebuilt engine and custom-made parts. I immediately called the dealership. "Star Auto Sales, this is Ryan speaking." Ryan was my general manager at the Elm Street location. He was a sharp-witted 45-year-old who'd been with me since the early days. "Ryan, it's Janice. I need you to pull up a transaction from today. Someone sold you a 1995 Ford Mustang GT. He checked and said, "Yeah, we had a woman come in around noon. Red-colored Mustang, manual transmission. It was in pretty good shape for its age. We paid $3,500 for it." $3,500? Lily had told me $3,000, which meant she'd pocketed $500. "Ryan, I need you to reverse that transaction immediately." He was surprised. "Reverse it? Is there a problem with the paperwork?" I replied firmly, "The car was stolen. The woman is my sister. She took my car without permission while I'm out of town." Ryan was apologetic. "Jesus, Janice. I'm sorry, I had no idea. She seemed legitimate, had all the documents." I assured him, "It's not your fault. She's been using my spare key to move the car when she visits. But selling it is a step too far. Reverse the transaction and blacklist the seller. Call the police and report it as receiving stolen property. I want this handled properly." He hesitated. "Are you sure? She's your sister." I was resolute. "I'm sure. And Ryan, when the police ask for my statement, tell them I'll be flying back tonight to press charges." An hour later, Lily called me, screaming. "What did you do? The police are here. They're saying I sold stolen property." I calmly said, "Because you did. Family doesn't steal from family, Lily." She retorted, "I wasn't stealing. I was borrowing." I scoffed, "You sold it. That's theft." I could hear the police officers in the background trying to calm her down. She pleaded, "Janice, please. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. I asked, was it? Your text made your intentions clear. You needed money for rent. So get a job. She said, I have a job. But working 12 hours a week at a bookstore isn't a real career. She was 26 years old, and it was time for her to take responsibility. Let me go back even further. When I graduated from college with a business degree, my family expected me to get a regular office job. My father, a traditional man, said, "You're wasting your education on that car-selling business." My mother, who was always a bit overprotective, added, "Car sales is a tough business. You'll get burned out." And Lily was the harshest. "You're going to end up like those desperate salespeople, always struggling to make a sale." But I had a vision. I saw the inefficiencies in the used car market and knew there was room for someone who combined good business sense with excellent customer service. I worked 16-hour days, learned everything about car repair and financing, and slowly built a reputation for honesty. The first year was incredibly difficult. I lived in a small studio apartment, ate cheap take-out for dinner, and put every cent back into the business. My family's weekly calls always included comments like, "When are you going to give up this crazy idea and get a real job?" By the second year, I'd hired 4 employees and moved to a larger lot. My family still thought it was just a passing phase. The third year brought the first acquisition. I bought a failing dealership on the other side of town for a fraction of its worth and turned it profitable within 8 months. That's when I founded Star Automotive Group and started thinking big. Over the next 5 years, I identified underperforming dealerships, bought them at low prices, implemented my systems, and watched the profits grow. I also diversified into automotive financing, extended warranties, and fleet sales to corporate clients. By last month, Star Automotive Group owned 7 dealerships, employed over 250 people, and generated an annual revenue of $50 million. I personally owned 85% of the company, making my net worth over $15 million. But my family had no idea. To them, I was just Janice who worked at the car lot. Lily, in particular, had made it a habit to treat me like her personal bank. Over the past 4 years, I'd given her approximately $20,000 in loans that she'd never paid back. I'd covered her rent when she was behind, her car insurance when she let it lapse, and countless other small emergencies. She took my help for granted, never showing real gratitude or trying to become financially independent. Back to the phone call with Lily. She was still yelling, "I'll pay you back." I asked, "With what money? You just said you needed $3,000 for rent." She replied, "I'll get the money somewhere." I said, "Lily, do you have any idea what that car was worth? It's a restored Mustang GT with a rebuilt engine and custom parts. You sold a $15,000 collector's item for $3,000. There was a long silence. 15,000? At least. Maybe more at auction, I said. She stammered, "I didn't know." I shot back, "You didn't ask. You saw something you thought was worthless, so you stole it." She pleaded, "Janice, please. I'll make this right." I was firm. "How? You owe me $20,000 in unpaid loans. You just stole $15,000 worth of property, and you're facing criminal charges for receiving stolen property." She scoffed, "20,000? That's ridiculous." I told her, "I have records, Lily. Every loan, every payment I made on your behalf, every time you promised to pay me back and didn't." She argued, "Those weren't loans. You're my sister. That's what family does." I countered, "No, family doesn't take advantage of each other. Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't lie. You told me you got $3,000 for the car, but the dealership paid you $3,500. Another silence. "That's different." I could hear the police officers explaining her options. I knew she was likely to be arrested, so I said, "Lily, I'm hanging up now. I suggest you call a lawyer." she begged. Janice, wait. Don't do this. I'm your sister. I replied, you should have thought about that before you stole from me. I hung up and immediately called my assistant to book the next flight home. Then I called my lawyer to ensure everything was handled correctly. During the flight, I was conflicted. Part of me was furious and wanted to see her face the full consequences. But another part, the part that remembered the little girl who used to follow me around, wanted to find a way to help her learn without ruining her life. When I landed, Lily had been released on her own recognizance. She was staying at my parents' house. I drove straight there. My mother opened the door with red eyes and a defensive look. Janice, I think we need to talk. I said, yes, we do. She led me to the living room where Lily was curled up on the couch, looking miserable. My father sat in his armchair, clearly uncomfortable. Before anyone says anything, I began, I want to make something clear. Lily committed a crime. She stole my property and sold it. The fact that we're related doesn't change that. My mother protested, it was a misunderstanding. I shook my head. No, it wasn't. Lily knew exactly what she was doing. She needed money for rent, but millions of other people don't steal from their families. Lily looked up at me with tear-stained cheeks. Janice, I'm sorry. I really am. I didn't think. I said, that's the problem, Lily. You never think. You just take. She said, that's not fair. I asked, isn't it? When was the last time you asked how I was doing before asking for money? When was the last time you offered to help me with anything? And when was the last time you even asked what I do for work? She mumbled, you sell cars. I asked, what else? She replied, I don't know. I pulled out my phone and showed her the Star Automotive Group website. Her eyes widened as she scrolled through the list of locations. You own all of these? I said, I am Star Automotive Group, Lily. I built this company from nothing while you all dismissed it as a phase. My parents stared at the phone screen in shock. My father asked, 7 dealerships? I said, 7 so far. I'm looking at a couple more acquisitions next year. My mother asked, but how? I replied, hard work, smart decisions, and taking risks. All the things you told me not to do. My mother sank into a chair. We had no idea. I said, as you never asked. You were all so sure I was wasting my life that you never bothered to find out what I was actually achieving. Lily was still staring at the phone. The dealership where I sold the car is yours. Which means I stole from you and then tried to sell your property back to you. She gasped, oh my God. I said, the good news is that since I own the dealership, I can control how this gets handled. The bad news is that you've put me in an impossible position. If I don't press charges, I'm telling my employees it's okay to accept stolen merchandise as long as the thief is related to the boss. But if I do press charges, I'm sending my own sister to jail. Lily started crying again. Please don't send me to jail. I'll do anything. I said, anything? Get a real job. Working 12 hours a week at a bookstore isn't a job. I'm talking about a full-time job with benefits and a career path. She asked, doing what? I don't have any skills. I told her, then develop some. Go back to school. Learn a trade. Start at the bottom and work your way up. She complained, but that will take years. I said, yes, it will. That's how careers work. She looked at our parents for support. What about rent? What about my bills? I asked, what about them? If you can't afford your apartment on an entry-level salary, move somewhere cheaper. Get a roommate. Live within your means. My mother interrupted, surely you can help her transition. I said, Mom, I've been helping her transition for 4 years. I've given her $20,000, and she's more dependent now than when we started. My father repeated, $20,000? I asked, want to see the spreadsheet? Lily was getting more and more panicked. Janice, please. I know I messed up, but I can't just start over with nothing. I said, you're not starting with nothing. You're starting with a clean slate, which is more than a lot of people get. She started listing what ifs. I cut her off. Lily, stop. You're 26 years old. It's time to take responsibility for your own life. I stood up and pulled out a business card. This is my lawyer's number. Call him tomorrow. If you're willing to enter a formal repayment plan for the money you owe me, and if you can show me that you're actively looking for real employment, I'll consider dropping the criminal charges. She asked, what kind of repayment plan? I said, $50 a month until the debt is paid off. That's a long time at current levels. She scoffed, $50? That's nothing. I said, it's something. And it's consistent. If you can stick to it for 6 months while holding down a real job, we can revisit the terms. She asked, and if I can't? I replied, then you'll go to court and face whatever consequences the judge decides. Lily took the business card with shaking hands. My mother said softly, don't you think you're being a little harsh? I said, Mom, I've enabled Lily's irresponsible behavior for years. I thought I was helping her, but I was actually making it worse. This is me helping her for real. My father cleared his throat. Janice, we owe you an apology. For not taking your business seriously, for not supporting your success, and for not recognizing what you've accomplished. I said, thank you, Dad. That means a lot. My father asked, how big is your company, really? I replied, last year we did $50 million in revenue. I employ over 250 people across 7 locations. He exclaimed, by God. I said, and I did it all while you were telling me to get a real job. Lily looked up from the business card. Janice, I really am sorry. Not just about the car, but about everything. I never realized. I asked, realized what? She said, how much you've done for me. How much you've accomplished. How badly I've treated you. I told her, I don't need apologies. I need to see change. She promised, I'll change. I promise. I said, don't promise me. Prove it. Over the next 6 months, Lily did prove it. She got a job as a receptionist at a dental office, moved to a smaller apartment, and made every payment on time. She also started taking night classes in dental administration, working towards a certification that would open up better opportunities. The criminal charges were quietly dropped after she completed her first semester and made 6 consecutive payments. The Mustang, which had been returned to me undamaged, went back to its place in my garage. More importantly, our family dynamic changed completely. My parents started asking about my business, visiting my dealerships, and introducing me to their friends as our daughter, the CEO. Lily began calling me for advice instead of money, sharing her career goals, and asking for guidance on everything from resume writing to workplace politics. And now, here we are at the grand opening of my 8th dealership. Lily has come a long way. She's been promoted to office manager at the dental practice and is engaged to Ethan, who has opened his own restoration shop for classic cars. She paid off her debt to me 8 months early and is saving for a down payment on a house. My parents have become my biggest supporters, attending every business awards ceremony and bragging about my success to anyone who will listen. They've also started volunteering at a local financial education center, teaching young people about responsible money management. My 1995 Mustang GT is still in my garage, fully restored and sometimes driven on weekends. It's no longer just a car I was working on in my free time. It's a reminder that sometimes, the people we love need us to be tough so they can learn to stand on their own. And seeing Lily take control of her life, making her own choices and paying for her own car, that's what real family success looks like. It's not one person supporting everyone else, but everyone supporting each other by being responsible for their own lives. It took a stolen car and criminal charges, but we've finally learned how to be a real family.